monthly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the South Lafourche Levee District, and now come to order. Please call the roll. Oh, excuse me, pledge of allegiance. Roll. Flag, Mr. Master.
It's on virtual flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mary, will you call the roll?
Ronald Colley.
Yeah.
Brett DeRoche.
Here.
Mitch Downs. Roland Curall. Roland Guidry.
Here.
Brian Marks. McNeely Rome. Keith Guidry.
Here.
Martha Davis.
Here.
Mr. President, you have one.
You said Brian.
Brian is on his way, yes.
Okay, good. We've been presented with a copy of the minutes of the last meeting, and there are additions, corrections, and deletions to those minutes as presented. Moved by Keith, second by Monty. Okay, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, I have a couple of things to report. First of all, you have the evaluation on our general manager. You need to fill it out and return it. Okay. And you also have your information for the ALBL meeting, December the 7th, 8th, and the 10th, and 9th in New Orleans at the Riverside Building, like it normally is. I think you have to sign the form for the sales tax exemption if you haven't done so. Thirdly, there's a resolution that I have to read out. Resolution number 2021-02. Grand Bayou Reggie Bacala Floodgate. Whereas Reggie Bacala was born in 1965 in the South Lafourche community that he loves so dearly. And whereas Reggie fought to champion issues that directly impacted the people in South Lafourche. Whereas Reggie served first as a business owner, then as a community service director, parish administrator, legislative internal auditor with passion and diligence. And whereas Reggie realized his life dream at becoming an elected official and was elected to represent House District number 54. And whereas one of Reggie's main focuses was the land loss that affected coastal Louisiana and Lafourche Parish. And whereas Reggie worked as a legislator to secure funding for hurricane and flood protection. And whereas Reggie was dedicated to bring to completion the LA1 project. And whereas Reggie was a profoundly honest and dedicated man who loved unceasingly his family, his culture, his LSU Tigers, his friends, and his home here on Lafourche. And whereas Reggie loved all these things, now be it therefore resolved that in honor of the work, support, and love for the people of Louisiana, South Lafourche Levee District, along with the support of the neighboring agencies, the Lafourche Parent Government, the North Lafourche Levee District, and the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District, do hereby name the Grand Bayou Floodgate in Mr. Bob Crosby's memory as the Grand Bayou Reggie Bacala Floodgate. I need a motion to second to that effect so we can send this on. Moved by Rome, second by Rome. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, anybody in the audience for purpose of addressing the meeting? I see our representatives here, Mr. Bacala's replacement.
That's right, and just honored that y'all did this resolution, and it will get his name. I know it's already in the works for a long time. And with all the activity going on since the storm, I really just wanted to come and say I'm doing everything I can within the powers of my representative position for the district, and really selfishly wanting to come in here with those managerial report and the progress on all the projects y'all have, the debris cleanup and the activities after the fact. So appreciate getting the invite and the meeting agenda.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else for the purpose of addressing the board? If not, then we'll move on to the agenda. General manager report, Wendell.
Well, show a slide presentation. We had some aerial shots. Let's see, yeah. This was pre-storm. Now, this is the floodgate, the Ontario floodgate lock is here. So here's the picture. And this little cut right here, it used to be very good for redfish fishing. And you notice the marsh that made this barrier so that the tide would go through there. This is after the storm. There's your channel. So we've seen some massive changes around the system. We probably, why it would take a generation to lose in March, we probably lost it in that 10, 12 hours. The parking golden medal. Now, we did this marsh restoration. It shows some water in here, but it came out pretty good. And what we found is the projects where we've gone into broken marsh and done a restoration project have done the best with the marsh loss. We've lost the least amount in those types of projects. Other projects not so. Also, one thing that I've been looking at for a long time, and it looks like we need to do it, you basically don't have any border from Catfish Lake to the levee now. There is a spoil bank from the old oil field development here. And I think we need to get a permit and start taking the spoil bank and maintaining it, keeping its elevation, maybe widening it out a little bit, and try to connect the dots so that there's no direct flow from the wave fetch that would come from Catfish Lake. We also found that, I didn't put the map up because it's so hard to read, but a lot of areas, our engineers have determined that we had a storm surge near 16 feet, 17 feet against the levee. And we just had enough levee to keep the water off from flooding homes and businesses. The one place we had bonding was at Clovelly Farms. It got in, and we think it got a little bit above the top of the levee. And that's the one place we're looking at right now, doing some major improvements to bolster it up. But again, nothing breached, and we would have definitely lost people had levee not held back that water. And here's a shot behind Basin. Again, everything is a lot less than what we had before. And you can actually see the top of the pump station going. This is at Clovelly Farm. This is, I've talked to people who had experience with debris at Katrina, Rita, Isaac, and they said they've never seen debris on the levee like we have on our levee. The estimates that started off around 250,000 cubic yards, they're estimating now 1 million cubic yards. And we have contractors that are taking the debris off, but we're working with FEMA to try to get an okay to just get the solid debris off, and the organic, to leave it on the levee, or even incorporate it like in this place, near Clovelly. You got substantial soil. This is not full tone, this is substantial soil, and we're gonna place it on the inside of the levee and let it oxidize, and as it oxidizes, we'll place it and work it into the protected side of the levee. But you're looking right here, it's almost 4 foot depth of marsh grass. And here's a machine cut right to the edge of the levee. And this is what's in the bar canal around the system. Those bar canals were cut to about minus 15 feet and a little bit more. And here's our machine, so on top of the levee. This looks like this is part of the levee. The marsh grass is actually growing. Since it's been on the levee now, it's actually growing while it's on top of the levee. You're not on the ground, cutting to the tool. Now, here's our levee. We've cut to this point. This is the bar canal. Okay, this was the 15 feet. And there's a couple of boats that are trapped up there. They've tried a barge buggy drag on, and they can't dig the stuff out enough. It keeps filling in. But it completely changed the look of that area. It's hard to tell. There's a little bit of water right here, and a little bit of water right here. This is Superior Dock, and this is Superior Canal. And don't look to Superior right now.
Rather looks inferior.
That's right, very much so. And here's the Morrow Canal head, where it used to be, heading north. And again, if you look on Google Earth, what's supposed to, it's supposed to be water right here. It's supposed to be open water all here and the marsh over here. And it's just the opposite. And again, we've cut the top of the levee. We had raised the levee 3 feet higher when you headed west from Superior Dock. And right now, with the clearing that we're doing, we're getting some contract help and our own people, and we're gonna finish raising this levee. Ben, what about plus 17?
Yeah, plus,
Plus 13, 14.
plus 14 right there, plus
Yeah,
16
yeah.
in your corner.
And it was down to about 12 when the water, we had the water go over the top here. And just another shot of how it's just amazing cutting through this area. And our process is gonna, instead of having to put it in a truck, by using this process, we're just keeping it inside the levee and cut tremendous cost, and we're having tremendous problem with those trucks causing problems with the roads that are being used. Now here's the levee, here's the inside, and we've taken it from the outside, placed it here, then place it on the outside, all the way to the back right of way. And we're gonna come in and truck in some dirt to do the repairs and improve the height of the levee in this area. And we're hoping to do that this week to start seriously improving that area. Now this is just stacked up about 10 feet long, again, marsh area. Again, here's the cutting, here's the Morrow Canal, and same setup. This is another location, and this stuff is mostly organic stuff. This is other parts of the levee. Now you can see, I think it's the A East area. Just a tremendous amount of organics that are blocked in the levee. And we're trying not to damage the levee too much and taking the stuff off, but you need heavy equipment to get this done. Again, in this area, we're going to try to get the contractor to separate the solid material out and leave the organic, so that we think we can cut back. And Phil Ramon works for also. Phil, if you want to add any information to this, but we're looking at trying to just leave that marsh grass and burn it eventually. Phil, you want to mention a little bit of discussion with that?
Based on that photograph right there, we're looking at possibly adopting three separate methods. One would be traditional hauling, which we're doing now. The other method would be removing the C&D, all of the wood and other objects, just be left with a vegetative state, push it into windrows, try to stack it, stage it, and burn it in place. And then the previous photograph, where it is mostly soil, which we believe will have some type of beneficial use on the non-flood side of the levee, we're going to try to stage it and put it on the back berm. So those are the three methodologies that we're trying to adopt and get approval from FEMA and the state. Wendell and myself met with them last week. They support it. They wholeheartedly appreciate the efforts, that we're not trying to run up huge bills. We're trying to do this as efficiently as we can. And there was 5 of us out there, all been dealing with debris since Katrina in some form or fashion, and none of us has ever seen anything to this magnitude. So this is really unprecedented, and we believe, no, they stated they support us in trying to find an acceptable methodology other than hauling, because hauling is going to take quite a bit of time and money, and it's also going to affect the integrity of the levee. I mean, all that heavy equipment back there, we're trying to minimize damage the best we can, but it's just the nature of the beast. It's, we believe, burning and the majority of it, and then hauling the most minimal portions that we can, and then staging the useful material, some of that clay and mud that came out of the marsh, trying to stage it on the non-flood side and just use it for weight and support of the levee system that's in place now.
Thanks, Bill. This is our pump station number 4, Marion Canal, and this is how the whole levee kind of works. There's tremendous amount of organic debris. And again, it's a lot easier to do it in these areas where we don't have a lot of other types of debris, but on the west side, it's thick and we have a lot of wood from camps and other things. And here, what I want to show here, this is a little bit north from pump station 4. You have a different angle of the levee, just that slight difference, so it's a 90-degree difference, makes that turn of the levee. And now you see, it appears to me that we had wave action, that water got up to here, the waves breaking on it actually killed or ate the grass off, and then cut into the levee itself a little bit. And on top of the wave, the debris that got thrown up, the wind set it on top of the levee. But we saw a lot of, again, this type of wind, never see this much wind, and it does things that are completely different. So we have some other, and on the west side, we have some floods a little bit deeper than these divots over here. So there's also repair to do on those places where we have that setup. But all in all, the levee performed well. I guess that's the bottom line. Now here's another area. This is how it looks traditionally clean. Now this is the stuff, here's a truck taking the stuff off. So here the stuff's been scraped off, put in piles, and then put in a truck and carried away. Phil, how much has been done? How much has been taken off the levee to this point?
We're, up to about a day ago, we removed just about 60,000 cubic yards of vegetative marsh grass debris that's been hauled to the dump.
And we're talking about 1 million cubic.
Yes, about 60,000.
So we want to leave it there and run it, or we want to use it differently. That's going to be the objective of getting these up. Now that is the other problem why we don't want to carry the marsh grass out. This is Bayou Raphael Road, and this picture not totally clear, but this is a deep rut in the middle road. They've broken through, and they've tried to do some repair on this thing, and you can see that we have that all the way through, and eventually the whole road will be in that situation. So we put, I've talked to Phil, and they put the contractor on notice that he's responsible for maintaining this road, and then he's got to put it back in shape before he leaves. And this is another reason why the less we take off and put in trucks, the better off we're going. But these are serious costs to repair this road. And again, this is the Bayou Raphael Road, that goes to pump station number 4.
Well, let me chime
Go
in
ahead.
for you. So just to back up, I mean, look, for the board members who have not seen it, so traditionally, debris that's generated by hurricane, just like all debris on the neighborhoods and on the back road and on the other one, I mean, all that gets picked up and hauled off. I mean, we've all kind of seen that thing pass home. So traditionally, you get debris, you pick it up, and you haul it off to an appropriate dump site. I mean, that's the way it's been done for many years now, for all of these storms. Of course, this levee board really hadn't had to deal with it because usually, first of all, it wasn't a lot, okay, and you just push it off the levee with your own people, right? And that's right when on draping, you just push the grass off to the side, it wasn't a lot. I mean, so first off, this is a much larger amount of stuff, okay, right? And as Phil has kind of said, and you can see in the pictures, I mean, you got 3 or 4 kinds of stuff. You got that old dead marsh grass, which all of us have seen a bunch of times. That's one thing. Then you got, even in this picture, you got stuff mixed in, that pile that looks like 2x4 and all that. That's a different kind of debris. That's construction debris, right? And you can see it's sorted on the side of the road like that. You got tree rings, and then you got, construction debris of sheetrock in town. Well, traditionally, that would all be sorted and handled 2 different ways, okay? And then what's even more unique in this situation is what we saw probably in those first couple pictures. I mean, some areas you got 4 feet of, marsh that looks like it was grown there, right? I mean, it's got, dirt and everything in it, right? I mean, it looks like it, frankly, it looks like it can stay there, okay? But that's the other thing you got to remember is we can't leave that on your levee. I mean, your levee needs that grass on top of it to protect it from the next storm, and all this stuff sitting on top of it will kill all your vegetation, and that Although that marsh grass and all looks like it adds a little elevation to you though, around it, that ain't gonna hold like no more. Right, Wendell?
No, exactly. Well, you lose your grass cover. The grass, I mean, it seems like it's a real simple thing, but grass makes a big difference whether your levee has some longevity or not. They've done some testing at the Colorado State University flume, and they tried to just get their flume to bust through the good grass covering, and it wouldn't. They had to poke it with shovels and stuff to try to break it through. So, we have always had the philosophy that we cannot spend enough money on seeds. If we make all the birds fat, so much the better. But we keep on doing that. And if you leave that marsh grass over there, it's not compacted. So even if you got that marsh grass road on uncompacted soil, you start getting wave action. It'll go through that very quickly, and then when you get to the real dirt, there's no more grass there, so it'll roll away. That's why you got to get back to your normal elevation and then get the grass road as soon as possible. But that's why we're trying to get this stuff off.
Would that be classified as a slow-moving storm or a fast-moving storm?
It slowed down around us. Okay, the storm did slow down around us, and it just pushed a lot longer than we anticipated. It was moving like 13 miles an hour before it made landfall, but once it made landfall, it slowed down and pushed back.
And with that in mind, if it'll continue for any length of time, with the damage it did that, if it stayed any longer, there's a real possibility we could have another failure.
Oh, absolutely.
The way it was washing out.
And in fact, that was kind of what's impressive about it, is that storm stayed so long, and it did hold up. I would have questioned if if it kept on going 13 miles an hour and seeing this type of damage, I'd have been a lot more concerned. But it stayed so long as it did, and we had this damage, but the levee still worked, and it still has some strength. It's not as strong as it was before the storm, but it's still strong. In fact, the only place I saw anything at the crown that was a little bit concerning was on Clover, at one spot. And we had never finished shaping the back part. We were actually constructing that levee, so the back part of the levee wasn't even compacted at all or shaped at all. So not to lose that levee again got impressive, because that was the place it was set up not to have a serious problem. And it still did well. So, and in fact, there's a report that I didn't include in the packet because it's a draft report. But I had someone, an engineer from the outside, who had never worked on a project and had worked a lot of other hurricanes, and said that he was surprised at how well everything worked that we had. Considering the overtopping, considering we had shaped the backside of it, it came out really good. And again, this picture here, just to show at the floodgate, the southernmost part, we had right at a 12-foot elevation here, but when you got to the outside, it went up to about 15-foot elevation. You get you on the side, we had a 17-foot elevation. Now here's the work that's going on, and I just wanted to kind of show, here's the pot. They were taking off the levee and depositing the material here, and that's on the road, the pump station, that's the boat launch behind over there, behind the port. And so we have all of these people that are employed by All South. They've got to check those trucks to make sure that they're full, so they get credited for the right cubic yards that are going out. Because I mean, that's the game. They get paid by the cubic yard. We want to make sure they don't claim more than they're supposed to claim. And that's why these people that you see that monitor exactly how much material is going out. And how many different spots, Phil, do you have the monitors?
Some days it changes based on weather and conditions, but usually we're running no less than 4 sites with multiple monitors, column loads. One of the things to consider, we've all seen these big trucks with the trailers. Some of those trucks have a capacity of 100, 90 and 100 cubic yards. This marsh grass is so dense and so heavy, you can't put that much in it. So they fill them up maybe 30, 40%, and that's still considerable weight. So we have our monitors and towers judging, measuring, photographing the loads, which make it eligible for FEMA. And a lot of these trucks are 20, 30 50%, loads, because they just can't fill in the capacity because of the weight. And we've already damaged some roads, as y'all saw. They're trying to, we're trying to do as much as we can, as fast as we can, and then, which is causing some of the damage to these roads. Now, we've made some corrective measures, and we think we're making progress, but it's a double-edged sword.
I've got another question, Wendell can answer it, or the engineers can answer it. Seeing what's happened to our levee with the erosion, what can be done to prevent that in the future? The hardening on the outside of our levees, is there anything can be done about that to stop this erosion from the outside?
You can armor it for sure. We've done that in a bunch of different places where you put some armoring, some rock on the outer edge of the levee. That's been something that's been employed in several locations. I mean, y'all have the vinyl sheet piles on the inside in a couple places, right, Wendell? The vinyl sheet piles in a couple places inside.
The hurricanes, the vinyl sheet piles would do any good in a hurricane.
Armoring.
Armoring, what would you looking at cost-wise? That's pretty expensive.
$1 million a mile at least. I'm looking at my guy, Neil and John. I mean, it's $1 million a mile. For sure.
And how many miles of it was damaged in that way?
Well, from that, it looked like probably maybe 10 miles. But again, every storm's going to be different.
Yeah.
The approach, how long it stays, we found the angle, like I showed earlier, just in the same area, just the difference of 90 degrees, and you had the wave action hitting probably perpendicular problem there, where on the other side, it caused no problem at all. But again, I think it speaks well for the levee that the way we're constructing the levees, we lost some grass, we lost a little bit of dirt, but we never lost the strength that it has. And again, this is not your everyday hurricane. This is a category 4 and some people think it'll go to a 5. This was a rare thing to get hit by something this bad, and this is actually what we see is a success. You see damage, but it didn't fail, and that's the thing. You're going to get damage when you get a storm, a 4 or 5 storm. You're going to get in fact, the description of those storms is based on the damage to housing. We have a lot of people who had roof damage. Well, if you look at what a category 4 hurricane is supposed to do, it's supposed to rip the shingles off your house. It's supposed to cause you some roof problems, and in some places it's going to cause structural problems. And we saw all that with the storm. So this was just a very powerful hurricane. Bottom line is our levee did extremely well. It got damaged, but it damaged in a way that kept the water out.
What I was trying to get at is there any way we could maybe just choose certain spots where the damage seems to be more than others, and maybe armor select areas? Is that feasible?
Well, the only thing I see is the connection between the levees and the hard structures. Because like I said, we if we can't do all the levee, because we won't be able to pick what the next storm is going to do, or where it's going to concentrate and the perpendicular hit from the wave action. So I would think it's beyond our ability. Look, right now we're building our levees. We're trading strength for height, and it paid off big time this storm. And it just showed we didn't need that we think the levees for strength are being over-designed. And so it worked out. We got to prove the point with what this storm did. But to do 48 miles of armoring, it's probably beyond what we can afford. Now the tow is an issue. Someone mentioned earlier. Now that we have lost more bars, that means everyday wave action on the levee is going to be worse. So having to put more protection at the toe. And the Corps had put rocks and sheet pile. That worked out pretty well from what I've seen outside of Cloverleaf and the Western Farm is that we have very small outside berms, but they had that sheet pile and that rocks have really kept it in line, and we haven't lost any. So that's something we're going to have to look at. Instead of doing just golden better, we're going to have to maybe go a little bit back and cut off those type of things, because there's so much more open water.
Can we go ahead and maybe put sheet pile to hold them to protect the two from
Yeah.
everyday action?
Yeah, and again, there's a cost of that. The sheet pile itself, we're doing at about $36 to $40 a linear foot. You put rocks on there, you're probably talking $75 to $100 a linear foot. But yeah, if we gotta do it, that's why we have to spend the money and maybe more affordable than looking at arming the whole outside.
I saw in some places, Wendell, that where we put the sheet power a distance away from the toe of the levee, that everyday wash and wave action actually built in that area between the levee and the sheet power.
And what we
You're supposed to
expect,
put distance to do that?
we got vegetative growth, but we've also seen on the more farm.
Now, if we can get funding for it, then I think there's an opportunity to do things, even now with some locations.
Protect the areas that were damaged this time, and that next time do another area, and as time goes on, we might be able to do the whole thing. We can't afford to do it all at one time.
Right.
But we can maybe do sections of it.
You talked about funding. Isn't it easier to get funding to repair damaged areas compared to protecting areas that have been damaged? Would it be easier to get some funding? Is the funding available at this time?
Yeah, I think Wynn was already working on that, and there's a lot of opportunity right now while it's still fresh.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it, but, capital outlay, we're gonna look at some of the projects that we think we need to get done, and that might be a price tag of $25 to $50 million. And then we also have some federal legislation that would get money to the Corps of Engineers, and talking the ballpark of $200 million to $500 million. But then, this is a lot more money than we've ever had. Look, we've nickel and dime to this point, and it's worked. We're very fortunate to get it to the level that we have it, but it's only because we tried some things. I think we made some rational judgments and chose less strength or height, and I can't say enough on that really saved us. We were inches away, and it's amazing, building 16 on the south end and 13 on the north end, except for maybe 15 miles of the 48 miles, we had water right to the top the whole week. And to have it over top and still not lose the levee just talks about how strong it was. If your water doesn't get all the way to the top of the levee, you don't know if you had full force, but we had water come over the top. We had full force and a force trying to weaken it, and it still did its job. So we have to look at the success that we have. We've got to keep on improving. Yeah, speaking of big trucks, loaded down these things weigh a ton, or a few tons.
Go back.
Okay.
So before we get off it, not to belabor this point too much, but when you do this type of debris work, it's very regimented by FEMA, okay? If you ever notice a truck moving up and down the street, picking up the stuff on the side of the road, there's a guy in the truck, there's usually two flagmen making sure you don't run into the truck, but there's always a third person kind of standing off to the side watching, okay? That third person is what they call a debris monitor. So there's a debris monitor with the truck, and when that truck is supposed to be full, then they fill out a haul ticket, and then we use a particular site. Then it goes to another site where somebody in one of these scissor lifts looks in it and calls a load as 50%, 30% full, all right? And they fill out the rest of the haul ticket, okay? All these trucks are pre-measured before they start. They all got these little stickers on the side of them, it's truck 7, 20 cubic yards or whatever. It's extremely regimented, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. All these haul tickets get calculated every day. All of them get turned in at the end of the month. That's how these guys get paid. That's how FEMA reimburses these public agencies like the parish and everybody else. The operation is extremely structured, okay? And that's why you got to have somebody out there. You're paying, not only paying this guy to haul it, but you're paying somebody to watch him haul it. Because, quite frankly, if you miss it by 50% every time a truck takes off, you pay twice as much. Right, everybody? And again, you think about tree branches. Everybody knows you fill a truck with tree branches. Well, it's only 50% full because the tree branches don't take up every nook and cranny, right? I mean, it's not like hauling dirt in a dump truck, okay? I mean, I just can't emphasize to you how regimented it is. And that's why you got to have people out there watching all the time. You'll see that when these trucks move around town. They got a monitor with every truck, and you got 2 monitors at one site, and you got 3 monitors at another site. Extremely regimented.
I don't know how we had that discussion of debris in the dark. But it is a big concern. Look, My main concern is cash flow in this thing. At $25 a cubic yard, that's real fast, we talk to Bill, cubic yard, so we look at the reports with all south to try and reduce that cost, and then it's a cash flow. And Joe, I know you've talked to FEMA a couple of times for us, and this one is, I've talked to the people all south to get their agreement with FEMA match when we sign, that we're gonna start paying, so that the FEMA guy told us in a couple of weeks, but, it's to get things started, and we can run up a big bill of a few $1 million before we get $1 from FEMA, so that's one of the biggest concerns that we have. We have maybe $2 million in cash for this thing, and we can run up pretty quick on that, so I just wanted to make you aware that that's a big concern that we have. I'd like to authorize and talking about that, authorize the president to sign our capital outlay budget request that we put in for November 1st.
Meeting with the recommendation of our town manager to authorize me to sign the request for the, can you repeat that, Wendell?
For the capital outlay budget.
Your wishes, gentlemen. Moved by Keith, second by Monty. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Damage assessment of levee structures, we did go and tour the levee with CPRE and with Corps of Engineers. And, they're gonna write reports on that. Corps of Engineers, normally there's a law that says that if it's a federal project and it's been maintained properly, they pay the repair of 100%. But because we've had to build a levee not using the new standards and we couldn't afford it, we're not in that program. Now, we need to get a letter from the Corps saying we're not in the program so that FEMA's gonna pay for the repairs that we do on the levee. Looking at that core report, that we need to have them write to us to tell us that we're not in that program so that people can do it. I just want to make you all aware that that's one of the negative things about the core having standards that are above what we can afford. Correctional letters, we sent us a congressional delegation. We have an example of the letter that we wrote to Scalise, and basically asking that we get some support in the federal budget, and then some of the bills that we're going to write out, up to $500 billion request for support, and also for support on neighboring parishes in their request to get better flood protection. For Rose Lockers, to give you an update, we had a meeting with Ben and Joe, and the Corps is asking less and less questions and accepting more and more. Ben, do you have anything to mention on that?
I don't have an update from the last week.
But it seems like there's less serious questions.
Less serious questions. We're moving forward, but who knows how long it's going to take.
Okay,
Anybody cares?
all right. Now the bridge support and levee right-of-way, talk about the bridge, it's the LA1 elevated highway that's going to be, one of the supports is going to be in our levee right-of-way. And the LA1 group and the port have gotten all the okay from the Corps of Engineers, and it's designed to be there. And I think they opened the bids on that. I just want to make you aware that there will be some construction inside of our levee as the bridge crosses over the top of it. And that's going to be in the vicinity of Apache Dock, where they're going to be making that crossing. Any questions? DNR permit, volume of blue, that's on Morganza. The levee section L is going to connect Paul's Farm to the Grand Bayou Floodgate. And we need to put a bridge and control structure there. And that's what this permit is for, so we'd like the board to allow the president to sign the permit for that.
Okay, you heard the recommendation of general manager to allow me to sign the letter for the project for replacing the building of the Pike Blue project bridge. Your wishes, gentlemen. By Monty, second by Mitch. Any discussion by Keith? Is any discussion? favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, there was actually a meeting called last Friday about Parchment's Police on the risk rate 2.0. That's the new program that the National Flood Insurance Program has embraced. And it's a real blood type program. It's not real slow. And they basically, we've been getting the last couple of years preferred risk, extremely low insurance rates. They're no longer going to do preferred risk to start off with. Secondarily, we don't know how they're going to approach accepting of levies. Since 1989, we've appealed to the federal government that our system is knocking down the storm threat, and we've been getting a reduced amount of insurance costs. From that time, since '89, we don't know right now what they're going to do. There is one person that I've heard is inside the levy system and was paid $500 last time and was quoted $5,000 coming up. Okay, the new change after October 1. Now, this is and then this was a unique case. He was buying. It was a new type policy. Okay, they cannot raise the rates. They go into actuarial rates. They can only increase 18% per year. But for some people, in 5 years, you're going to get an actuarial rate and talking about thousands of dollars. So this is a serious problem that we have. This is like Biggert Waters. We were able to stop Biggert Waters because we got the attention of everybody. But right now, it's hard to get attention because you got Afghanistan debacle, you got the budget issues that are crazy right now, and you've got the southern border. It's eating up all of the discussion in Congress. And just like the last time, we had some flooding on the East Coast, Superstorm Sandy. Well, Ida flooded the East Coast too with the rainfall. So again, we have allies, with some big allies that are with us about this flood insurance thing. But there's a lot of concern whether something's going to get done. That's why the congressman had the meeting. You heard a couple of senators talk about it. It just doesn't look good. It's kind of depressing. You know, we showed how we kept out the water, we saved lives, but we've also proved that our system is better than one year storm that we're supposed to be based on.
Was in the meeting with Scalise, was there any comment on the support that Governor John Bel Edwards is providing for us on delaying risk rating 2.0?
Yeah.
Someone had called me to say that they didn't think that the support was as strong from the governor's office as what it could have been.
Well,
That's
we
why I'm asking.
didn't hear a comment negative or positive,
Okay.
but I just, again, it's my assumption that everybody's pushing hard. This could be, it's idiotic not to.
Right.
I mean,
Anybody from Louisiana with Louisiana's
that's
interest
right.
would be.
We have a very few number of people that are gonna get a benefit from this new law, this risk rating 2.0. And again, it's a very blunt instrument, and they want to go to actuarial rates. And the crazy thing is, after Betsy, private companies did not want to do insurance, flood insurance, because there are too many variables. Now we know a little bit more that the variables are controlled a little bit better, but it's still going to be a crazy number, and that's the reason why the federal government got the National Flood Insurance Program. And the good things that happen, look, still, even though it's in the red, the people that are getting the benefit of the flood insurance are paying 80% of the bill. There aren't a lot of government projects or programs that do that well, even though it's in the red, and that's what they keep arguing. The other thing is, because of the new regulations, less people do flood when the water's high. Okay, I remember the rainfall, we had 11 inches, I think, in like 12, 13 hours. And I got a call from this lady, she said, man, I left for work and I was in water, and I come back and it's still in water, your pumps are not on. Well, sure, pumps are on, but then she was in the low area, so I went visit the area. And the bad news is, she was right, she was walking in water, but the good news is, the water was in her yard, it wasn't in her house. All of these people's houses were above the flood. You know, and that's actually a success, and that's part of the success of the program that they don't talk about and they don't see. We save millions of dollars on the flood insurance program by not allowing the flood. In places that there's a heavy wind damage and heavy flood, because the private companies pay the wind damage, a lot of that damage gets put in the flood insurance program because it's hard to differentiate, and that is really done, it's documented. Well, because we didn't let anything flood, everything that happened from the wind goes to the private companies. and they have to handle it. We save millions and millions of dollars for the insurance program. And instead of getting rewarded, we change, may leave us out. But wish we could have better news on it, but we're making all the efforts that we can to keep it the way it is, and we think it's still a good program, even though it's a little bit in the red. The other thing is, it was based on the 100-year flood event. When you have something like Katrina, way above the 100-year, you shouldn't go to that fund to get the money out. The other thing, there have been some years you had surplus, it didn't go into reserve fund, it went into the general treasury. So the program is not as bad as some people have tried to make it, and that it's in the red. With some good management, it would be in the black by definition.
Got it.
All right. Any questions on the flood insurance? Roof replacement at the office, I'd like a motion to allow us to move forward with replacing the roof. We have, and that would be with the coordination of our appraiser with the insurance company and a contractor to do the work. So we'd like to have, I'll go ahead and move forward with that, please.
Okay, you heard the recommendation of our general manager to move forward with the replacement of our roof for our office. Need a motion? Motion by Roland, second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, Hurricane Barry, FEMA reimbursement for the 55,000 cubic yards. Is this the end of the FEMA money?
No, we still have some.
Okay. But anyway, we all
What's the
received,
goal of it?
yeah, we received the funding, so we're almost finished with that. And again, we've paid it out. We've had Terrebonne and the state give us the money. When that money comes in, we'll give it back to them, except minus the 25%.
So we're gonna hate to jump in, I didn't talk to Mary,
Go
so
ahead.
Mary, y'all got some of the money, we got a bunch of it?
Yeah, we've got the biggest,
Hallelujah.
the biggest chunk. That's what I wanted to mention.
Hallelujah. Thank you.
It was worth the visit, worth the fear of God.
Good job.
You knew that had come through.
No, I actually wanted to
You
do
knew
it.
the visit.
I knew the check was in the mail. Was
That's what you showed us.
I wanted to hear you say it or acknowledge, yeah.
I should have bought a fake check with
That's what you showed us today. We could have taken the
When
picture
will
with
the
a
mail
big check.
pass?
That's where I got, was checks in the mail, they're gonna get it soon. Anyway, if you don't mind me going back to capital outlay, one thing, between COVID and Ida, you hear about all these things getting delayed, IRS tax deadlines, this, that, applying. One thing that the state of Louisiana has not delayed in any way, shape, or form is the November 1st capital outlay process. So I already got letters from, because I represent Grand Isle, from their little Jefferson Parish delegation. Get your capital outlays request done in proper time. Get the letter of recommendations from your congressional members. Just letting you know, not getting delayed, staying on schedule. So, for Golden Meta, I don't know if you're still doing those, but I want to help out and make sure that all the letters of recommendation for the locks and everything else are done in appropriate time.
And going back to that, because we didn't have the capital outlay on the agenda, we need to have a vote to put on the agenda, and I guess the what happened?
No, I'm just gonna,
Roll call vote.
roll call.
vote, yes.
That we allow a vote on the capital outlay.
Add it to the agenda.
Okay, gentlemen, your
So I got
your wishes.
You don't have another meeting, right?
Add it to the agenda, moved by Monty, second by Keith. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying
We
aye.
have to vote.
Roll call. Ronald Holly,
Yes.
Brett DeRoche. Mitch Daniels, is not here. Roland Huron.
Yes.
Tony Guidry. Here. Brian Lawrence.
Yes.
Keith Guidry.
Yes.
And Monty Davis.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, so on the agenda,
Now, we need to vote to allow you to sign.
I walked out, I'm lost, I walked out.
Okay, so the capital outlay that the board authorizes you to.
Okay, I'm glad you signed the letter, okay, no problem. Your wishes, gentlemen, moved by Keith, second by Monty. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
All good, Mr. President.
Take care of it.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Engineer report, CPRA, Dan, I see you now, Dan.
Yeah, I didn't sneak up on you this time. I didn't know I did last time, but yeah. The only thing I have is some updates on some agreements with us with CPR. We have several just formalities. Some of these projects, agreements, IGAs, have BA 249, that's the LaRose, flood wall, vessel impact barrier. That one, all of these are just, they're done, they're just routing internally signatures, and they're gonna go to you guys for final signatures, the way I understand. Yeah, so LaRose, flow wall, impact barrier, and then the section F, protected berm, protected side berm, that was BA 250 on our list. We also have the amendment number 2 to LaRose and Golden Meadow, same situation. That's about it. And then the only other thing I had here was the project manager saying that we are waiting on final comments from locals on the draft idea for the Morgancy Gulf Reach L before we do the same thing, route internal procedures. That's about it.
Okay, any questions, Dan? Thank you.
One other point, I forgot the last one. This was on the agenda, I just didn't bring it up. This is to authorize the board president to approve all emergency storm-related agreements or deny. Need a motion instead.
Okay, gentlemen, your wishes on this motion. Roland, Brian, second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, Ben?
Sir, levee section E North, levee improvements, that project is prepared to complete, we're in the lean period right now. There is no application okay at this moment. Levee section F, onshore materials, they moved back onto the project a couple of weeks ago. After the storm, they are hauling material now. Again, this project has no application for payment this month, since they took some time off after the storm. The LaRose Block project, plans have been submitted to the Corps of Engineers and to CPRA for their review. Joe and Linda met with the Corps. They had some questions. We're waiting on more questions from the Corps, so we're going to reply back before proceeding with that project. Levee section D South, phase 3 levee improvements. Outer limit is working on the site right now. They're finishing up. In the next day or two, they'll be finished removing all of the stone debris and stockpiling it. And they're also prepping the borrow pit area, kind of degrassing it right now. So they should start hauling or start excavating from the canal in the next 2 to 3 days. We do have an application for payment, number 2, in the amount of $10,520. We recommend that for payment.
Okay, we heard the recommendation of our engineers to be outer limits payment number 3 in the amount of $10,500. Your wish, moved by Keith, second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
And on the Hurricane Ida storm damage repairs to the pump stations and floodgates, we completed our report. We submitted that to Amy, Mary, and Window late last week. We prepared the specifications. We should be ready to proceed with bidding the project in the next 2 days. We'll be ready to
Any questions, Ben? Now, other engineers, I want you to pay notice here. Ben only costs $10,000. Okay, don't keep that in mind.
We moved to the top of the
Yeah, we're gonna work together on this thing.
There's so much hard thing, Phil's gonna take care of
Okay, gentlemen, GIS engineer, John.
I think I'm going to defer my report until Warren comes in. The AE's Lafourche water retention project, the Corps finally sent a draft permit about 6 weeks ago. Actually, it was right before the storm, so it must have been about 2 months ago. Wendell has signed it and returned it. We're still coordinating with the pipeline and utility companies. That servitude will need to be obtained. We have finished the plans and specs, so once all that documentation is in gear and y'all have found the funding source, we can go ahead and start that project.
Let me ask you a question, John. When you started this project, what was your estimated cost?
It was about $1 million, and
And what do you think it is now?
I think, let me rephrase that. It was as much as $1 million. Our official estimate was probably like 700,000 or 800,000, and it's probably about 1.4 million, I think is right now. So in the 13 years we've been working on it, it's almost doubled.
It's today's inflation, it's not that bad.
That's not too bad.
Okay.
South Flood Wall Improvements Project, Phase 1, sea level construction has begun work on that again. Some of the Vince project, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they started the project again. The east flood wall H piles are all in. They're continuing on the west side. It's about halfway through. It has helped a little bit that because of the storm, the Schwest has moved their houseboat out of the way, so that has helped a little bit, but that does not make up for all the damage that the storm did. Unfortunately, we've got a few pay requests on this one. We've got pay request number 3 for sea level in the amount of $355,015. That is from work that was before the storm, that is from August. We also have pay request number 4 in the amount of $16,142.40, which is this past month.
Is that the best you can do with those things, John?
That is the best we can do with those things, yes, sir.
Okay. Pay request number 3 to sea level, and pay request number 4 to sea level. First, number 3 is $355,015. Number 4 is $16,142.40. I can do both at the same time, Mr. Attorney.
Yes.
Okay, moved by Keith, second by Rose. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Also on that project, although it's not technically in phase 1, I guess it is technically in phase 1, but Hurricane Ida repairs. We've got change order number 2 for sea level in the amount of $21,035.98, which is basically the cleanup work in that area, taking all the marsh grass and other debris and piling it out on the sides so your debris contractors can come pick it up. So change order now.
Added to it.
Correct.
Okay, pay request number 2, order number 2 for sea level construction for $21,035.98, recommended by our engineer, Joe Wishes. Roland, second by Monty. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Now that y'all approved change order number 2, they have done the work, so pay request number 5 in the amount of $21,035.98 is now in order.
So now you want to pay it.
Correct.
Okay, your wish, gentlemen. You've heard the recommendation of engineers to pay sea level $21,035.98. Your wishes. Brett, Keith, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay.
Okay, phase 2 of that project, which is to connect the middle portion of that project, take out the concrete flood wall, which wasn't high enough, and replace it with a steel wall, is being advertised. We will be taking bids on that on October the 28th. Moving on to the D North Ramp project. As y'all may recall, we took bids on that back in April. The bids were substantially higher than the estimate, so y'all rejected all the bids. We are now preparing additional quotes to just to excavate stockpile material. We anticipate having those quotes in by next Monday in order to not have to wait for next month's meeting. We have asked to have a motion to allow President Kale in cooperation with the attorney to award the project when those quotes come in.
Okay, you've asked, recommend, allow me to sign the, award the contract contingent upon the engineer and attorney approval. Wish, gentlemen. Moved by Monty, second by Keith. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
and we expect those quotes to come in around $150,000. The next project is the Grand Bayou Floodgate structure. It is almost all done. Substantial completion?
Tomorrow.
We're having a substantial completion inspection tomorrow on that project. But again, we've got some pay requests on that one, some rather hefty ones. Pay request number 21 in the amount of $374,393.95. And pay request number 22 in the amount of $324,206.01, both for the regular construction of that
And who is that?
project. That is for sea level construction.
Sea level. Okay. Engineers are recommending we pay their request number 21 in the amount of $374,373.95. And their request number 22 in the amount of $324,206.01 for sea level. Your wish, gentlemen. Move on it. Second by Roland. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
And again, also like on the South Flood Wall project, there was some Hurricane Ida cleanup operations there. So we have change order number 11 for the project for $226,290.76.
You skipped.
You skipped the
Large floodgate structure.
20,000.
Oh, that's later on my list, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. You want to go with this one first? Grand Bayou Emergency Effort, Hurricane Ida, sea level, pay order request number 11 in the amount of $226,290.76. Moved by Brian, seconded by Monty. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
And again, once y'all approve the change order number 11, they've done the work now. Pay request number 23 in the amount of $226,290.76 is in order.
Okay, to fund that change order, request number 23, 226,290.76 to sea level also. Moved by Monty, second by Brett. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, now back to the barge gate. It's successfully closed. It for Ida, it worked well. There, as y'all just voted on, there was some debris cleanup, but there is a pay request number 12 in the amount of $20,187.50.
It's also
For
sea
sea
level.
level.
Okay, heard the engineers request that we pay sea level, pay request number 12 in the amount of $20,187.50. Your wish, gentlemen. Moved by Brett, second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
And again, going back for Grand Bayou, well, not just Grand Bayou, but Hurricane Delta and Zeta from last year, we don't have any update for y'all here, but we continue to work with Speedy and All South to provide any information that's necessary.
Any questions of John? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next, Angela, Castillo, Neil.
Yes, sir. On the Sea-South levee improvements, this is the section of levee from the base on pump station going up to the south end of Lafourche Farm. That contractor ran our shipyard is getting ramped up again now that Hurricane Ida is settled down. We do not have any pay requests from them for this month, but they are getting started again on the project. On the Lafourche flood wall height improvements, this is the additional steel that we added to the Lafourche flood wall from just past the curve at Lafourche all the way up to the overpass. That section of wall was only at about a 10.5 foot elevation from the core. We're elevating it up to about 13.5 foot elevation. It did well for the hurricane. It was still under construction, but it did have all of that steel up and in place and did not suffer any damage. So today we have a recommendation of approval for 2 pay applications, number 5 and 6. Number 5 in the amount of $33,046.23, and number 6 in the amount of $49,569.33.
And that is
To sea level construction.
sea level. Well, sea level is making up that bandit today, huh? Okay, remember you have a recommendation of our engineers to pay sea level pay application number 5 in the amount of $33,046.23, and number 6 in the amount of $49,969.33. Your wish, gentlemen. Moved by Monty, second by Keith. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, and lastly is the Morganza to the Gulf Reach L project. This is from the southwest side of Apache Farm all the way out to Grand Bayou. We did receive bids back in August on this project, and based on our recommendation, the board rejected those bids at last month's meeting due to the amounts exceeding the budget significantly. We're currently making changes to that to try to reduce the cost and also incorporate any changes that might have happened to the site or to the potential borrow site on the farm due to Hurricane Ida. So there is a permit issue that's still being looked at that the Corps of Engineers in the state are reviewing for that borrow pit. We expect to have that in the next couple of months. But as of now, the Apache Farm is still flooded and significantly damaged. So we're waiting to hear from Apache on what their game plan and timing is on getting that potential borrow site cleared out. That's all.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions of the meeting? Thank you. Delta Coast. Anybody here for them? Okay, All South Engineers, Steve.
I've got several things to report on, Mr. Chairman. The first one is our FEMA program management contract. This is the work that we've been doing for y'all for several years to help y'all get FEMA reimbursement for various costs over the years. Of course, one of them, the most major one, is the Hurricane Barry stuff that we were joking about a little while ago. So I'm glad to hear that that has been accomplished recently. We've also been managing this debris work through this contract in the last month and a half. And again, I know we talked about it earlier, but just to relate some of that to the board, immediately after the storm, Wendell and I and Phil began talking about removing some of this massive amount of debris. You may not recall, but the federal government agreed to provide 100% reimbursement for debris removal for a limited amount of time. And so there was some urgency at the time to get somebody out there and start moving some of this stuff off the levee. That 100% actual reimbursement ended yesterday, right, Phil and Wendell? So we were trying to hustle to get as much taken care of before October 10th, which we did. Right? We got some of that work done, okay? And then we've also had, as we talked about, we've also had to put a whole team of monitors out there in the last month to monitor this work.
Well, how many people, how many monitors?
It's been ramping up every day. We're averaging probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30.
30 days.
And look, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day to try and take advantage of the 100% cost reimbursement as of yesterday. The amendment that I'm going to propose to you today, which quite frankly is a bigger number than I'm comfortable talking to this board about, but it is what it is. It's based on the work we've done today and a projection going forward for at least a month if we followed the same procedure that we followed today, which is pile it up, haul it off via truck to a approved site, basically. Again, as we've talked about during this meeting, working actively to change that method to reduce the cost substantially. But when I proposed this amendment, it was assuming that that would continue because we didn't have anything else to go on at the time. Okay. So the proposed amendment adds a budget capacity of $826,000 to our FEMA program management contract to account for the work we've done in the last 30 days and also to project it until your next board meeting, which is the second week of November, whatever the proper date is, probably the 9th or the 10th or something like that. Okay. So the requested amendment, board members, is to add $826,000 of budget capacity to this FEMA program management contract. Okay. That is not all related to the debris. There's obviously some other FEMA program management stuff we're doing for you, but the vast majority of it is related to managing this debris operation. Okay. This is probably a good time to say that if we've structured all this right, this is also FEMA reimbursable. Okay. The expenses you pay us to do this FEMA program management work is reimbursable at the same cost share as the disaster is. So 100% up until yesterday and 90-10 going forward. Okay. But it is reimbursable, you gotta expend it before you get reimbursed for it. I mean, it's a reimbursement operation, okay? You know, between now and the next board meeting, we hope to get some real certainty on these alternative methods where you don't have to pull it off the levee, where you can windrow it, dry it out, and burn it. The stuff that's got a lot of mud in it, we're going to dry it out on the protected side of the levee. Hopefully that's going to be a lot cheaper than what we're doing. It's not going to require as much effort by us. Okay. But again, when we proposed this amendment, we didn't have these things nailed down. I don't know if I missed anything, Phil or Wendell.
Just, now the thing is that the number of people that we have in the board, 7 days a week, just make sure they're taking the right stuff out.
And all of that is reimbursement, monitors everybody's reimbursement at 90%.
It ought to be up to 100% up until yesterday, and then 90% going forward.
And right now, you're asking us to increase that amount to 826,000 budgeted.
I hate to say it, I'm
Not to
asking
come up
you.
with the money now, but just to increase the budget.
Yeah, first off, this is budget. By the way, this is billed on a time and materials basis, right? So this is hourly billing for whatever we're doing. This is, we had to project a number to get us through the next 30 days, but this is straight hourly billing. So quite frankly, if for whatever reason we stop it in 2 weeks, then it stops, okay, right? Or if we come up with an alternative plan that only requires 3 people to be out there, it gets ramped down, okay? I'm not saying we get there, but you know, we're working actively. Because again, just to be very open and honest, the conversation that we've had with Wendell and Phil and a couple of people's offices, you know, we've got to come up with a different way to do this because we can't afford to do it the same way. Okay? We've got to come up with another way, so that's why we've been very active working on it. But it is, to answer your question, this is a budgeted amount for the next 30 days. What we build on a time and materials basis will be reimbursable by FEMA according to the cost share that's applicable to this disaster, which again, as of yesterday, is 100%, but going forward, it's 90-10. Okay, but it is reimbursable. You'll have to expend any dollars and get reimbursed. So the burden is on you to fund the cash flow in the short term. Right?
Okay. So you're asking that.
If you want, I can get Ben to present.
Well, rent is going to be $8,000.
If it makes you feel better, we can get Ben to bring it up.
So the action we need from now is the approval to increase the budget at about 826,000.
Authorize the amendment to this engineering.
You've read the recommendation of engineers to do this. I need a motion to Roland, second by Roland. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other item, the next item on the agenda is emergency rehabilitation of Reach Cave Phase 2. So this is the work that Sea Level has been doing on Reach Cave for several months, shaping the Reach Cave material. They've been working on this for a few months, taking the dirt we piled up in the last couple of years and shaping it into level. So the first thing on the agenda is change order number 5, where we're adding $44,475 to the project. That is for work they did ahead of Hurricane Ida to prepare for storm. They put some sandbags in where the 2 water control structures are, where the 2 wildlife and fisheries water control structures are on Reach Cave. We wouldn't have to put sandbags on top of that because that was the lowest part of all the Reach Caves. We had to put sandbags on it ahead of Ida, which by the way worked. Right? We didn't have flooding in Point Shannon and Bird because of that. So that's a change order we would recommend approval.
Okay, the recommendation engineers to change order number 5 to add $44,475 to the work order. Increase of 40,000 through Sea Level, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, a motion by Lee, seconded by Roland. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, is payout number 11 for the same project. But I do, Mary, do we need to add payout 11?
12.
So the number 12 is on the agenda, everybody. We need to add number 11. Number 11 was not properly put on the agenda. We didn't get the right information to Mary in a timely fashion. So we need to, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I request that we add pay app number 11 for this same job number to the agenda so that we can approve it as well.
If our attorney says okay, I'll do it. Okay, good. So you want to add $2,460?
No, we need to add pay app number 11 to the agenda for the same job number. And another.
Oh, for the 44,000, excuse me.
It's, actually, pay app number 11 is going to end up being $19,142.50.
So it's a different number on there. 19,000, how much?
Excuse me, $19,142.50.
56.
And that would be pay app number 11 for the emergency rehabilitation of Reach K.
And there's the sea level also.
That's going to be to sea level.
Okay, you've heard a recommendation of our engineers to add to pay application number 11 at $19,142.50 to sea levels. Moved by Keith, seconded by Britt. Any discussion?
Do we need roll call?
Need a roll call.
Roll call?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, put it on the agenda.
I just asked you one. You told me no.
Thumbs up, then let's
I
go.
thought you were saying okay. Okay.
It's okay as long as you do a roll call.
Okay, my mistake. Okay, roll call.
Okay. Ron Collins,
Yes.
Brett DeRoche. Yes. Roland Curall.
Yes.
Roland Guidry.
Yes.
Brian Marks.
Yes.
Keith Gifford.
Yes.
And Monty Bates.
Yes.
Okay, now that we've cleared that, now we need the same people to second pay it, right? Moved by Keith, seconded by Brett. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
So, Mr. Chairman, did we handle both of those pay apps just now, or do I need to?
We didn't do 12.
Maybe 12.
Okay, so we can do 12. So for the same job, members, we have pay app number 12, which is in the amount of $2,460.50, and of course, we recommend approval of that pay app.
Okay, engineers will recommend pay application number 12 to sea level for $2,460.50. Moved by Keith, by Monty, second by Roland. On the, excuse me. No issue, gentlemen. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, so the last item on the agenda for All South is the supply and delivery of material lost to Reach case. So this is the same project. We were joking earlier about finally getting FEMA reimbursement. I mean, this is the project where we have bought basically 50,000 yards back to Reach K that got washed out in Barry. So this job is basically done. I hate to confuse everybody again, Mr. Chairman, but I do think we need to add this agenda item as well. Mary, is that correct?
Yes.
So there's a pay application related to this project, which is not on the agenda, so I would request that the board consider adding it. So that request is for contractor pay application number 8 in the amount of $19,289.75. So we requested that be added to the agenda, and so we can properly pay it.
Okay, so you need to add the change order to the agenda and then pay, right?
It's actually added pay out, Mr. Chairman, pay out.
Okay, gentlemen, further recommendation of engineers that we add the application number 8, change order number 8 of $19,289.75. Your wishes, gentlemen, roll call. First, we're going to move by roll and second by roll. Now we'll have a roll call. Yes, don't know what's going on.
That's a month.
It's been fun.
Ron Collins.
Yes.
Brett DeRoche.
Yes.
Roland Curall. Yes. Roland Guidry.
Yes.
Brian Marks.
Yes.
Keith Gifford.
Yes.
Monty Bates.
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, now we're going to do payment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moved by Roland, second by Roland. Here this amount of payment, $19,289 to sea level. No wishes, gentlemen. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Apologize for the confusion, board members.
You know, I've been on this board 43 years, and I've been president for the last 21 years. And I have never seen one time that one company walked off with all the money. Only company that's being paid is sea level. Never seen that.
Well, but I'll come back with
I
this.
want to buy stock in sea level.
You gotta understand, the sea level got high here in Ireland. But you know what's unique about it? They do all their work above sea level.
Here we go.
Now, wait for the-
The good news, one of the business, Rob, before we move on, so if I heard right, the Grand Bayou Floodgate substantial, is what, today and tomorrow or something?
Tomorrow.
So that's a big check box. And then all this work on Reach K, they basically done with all that. So quite frankly, I mean, we still got work to do on Reach K and stuff like that. But as of, this week, apparently, based on their project and the project, I mean, we got a substantial letter from Pointe-Chan, at least all the way to the Grand Bayou Floodgate. Above that, it's a little bit of a different story, but that's pretty substantial.
You're right.
Okay, that's not small stuff, so.
Okay, good. Anything else? Any questions of Stevie?
No more agenda changes.
Legal permits are right away. Mitch is not here. Do we have any?
Yes. Good.
All right, we have McCain Sound Incorporated, Big Jim Seafood, Hunt, Telecom, Tory Telecom, Cable. The three of those are not, and none of the work is around our levy system, so finally approved. We also have 2 permits after the fact of entity work has been accomplished and no problem with our levy system, so I would suggest that we accept all the permits. Do I have no objection?
Okay, so the recommendation of the general manager to accept all applicants for permits. Application for permits, your wish, gentlemen. Moved by Marty, second by Keith. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Anything else on that? That's it. Mr. Attorney?
No report.
Hey. Okay, Finance Committee, Marty.
Finance Committee met earlier and reviewed all invoices and recommended payment.
There you go, the recommendation by the Finance Committee Chairman, second by Keith. Okay, all as presented, all the motions, no issue, gentlemen. Okay, in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Don't confuse things by bringing some more stuff. Okay. Gentlemen, we need a motion. Mine second by Keith. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.